Okay, so these are the hawthorn berries which I obviously picked earlier today. I've washed them all thoroughly and removed as much of the leaf and stalk as as physically possible. It's been brought to the boil. When the berries go in, you just cover them with water and bring it to the boil and then let it simmer. So that will simmer for a while. I have a potato masher that I use, and that gets all the juices out. That's what we want. They do turn brown. They go from red to brown in this process, but then you're left with a kind of rusty liquid, and that's the liquid that we want. And the liquid will go through the jelly bag type thing, and all the berries, the husk and stuff, will remain inside the bag, which I'll show you later. It might be, I might allow this just to cool off overnight and do the rest of it in the morning. I've got my jars to sterilise, but I'm conscious that the light's not very good, the rain's on, and I do have to sterilise these bottles, and I don't want to build up a huge amount of condensation in the house because there's a lot of steam involved. I have got an extractor fan. It's switched off just now, obviously, because I'm talking to the camera, but we'll see how it goes. Also need to make my tea and stuff, because I haven't had really anything apart from sandwich since 7:30 this morning, so I obviously need to put something in my stomach to give me energy. Perhaps after that I'll make a decision whether we continue to do any further filming this evening, or, as I say, we'll leave it till tomorrow. We'll find out if as I join these together, the edit. Okay, so we've taken it off the heat, and you just have to excuse the mess, but it is a functional kitchen I live in. What I've done is I've set up a piece of wood, and that's the filter. Basically, that's the jelly bag, and down at the bottom there, you can see it in that light, is my pot, and the liquid will pour through very slowly into that pot. You don't want the jelly bag to be too far away, but at the same time you don't want it to be too close. So that's the ideal height from experience, and that will drip through, and that finished liquid is what the sugar will go into when we heat it up to make the syrup. Well, the jelly, not the syrup on this occasion. It will be hawthorn jelly. I suppose in a way you could call it syrup if you wanted to. Syrup is quite viscous, whereas the jelly texture is much thicker. I've got some jam jars to the ready. I'm still uncertain as to whether to boil off the jars this evening, but I don't like to leave anything till the next day if I can help it, so I'll probably just proceed. I have to say that, and I've got my container here which will take the liquid out. This is not, this is our traditional jelly pot. This is the business. That's all the berries I picked today are now reduced. I have to tell you, this is hard work to do all this. It's not much fun, but if you approach the whole idea that it's one of these awful jobs, then it's not going to be done with any love. It's like an artist or a writer or a musician, a composer. You don't sit down and say, "Oh, can't be bothered with this." They do it because they love doing it. And hence I put on a little bit BBC Radio 3. I always find it's Nice to have some faded background music when I'm doing this job. It's probably from the Barbican, evening concerts. Sounds like an opera. Sounds like, yes, opera. But you don't want it too loud. Anyway, what was I saying? So these are all the leaves that I've been picking in different parts of the summer. They all come into use for me. So what we'll do is we'll get started and we'll put that the stuff into that jelly bag, Annie. There will be oh dear, not the best reception, is it? Oh dear. Better turn that down, Annie. Perhaps let's turn it off in the Barbican. But now you'll see that, now that, I hope you can see, this is why I want to do this in better light. But can you see the liquid coming through? Probably not. Better than there. Yeah, you'll probably see it better than there. So that's the liquid we want from the berries. And as I say, it's a slow process. But and then, unless you organise yourself, it can be a messy business. So organisation is what you need in these matters. So I think I'll just push ahead and get these jam jars boiled off and keep busy. It's 7 o'clock. I've had my evening meal and I've got a bit more energy now, so I think we'll proceed. Okay, it's getting a bit dark in here. I'm sorry about this because all the shades of the stuff there, but I'm not sure you can see anything. But simply the smell of the hawthorns, like all the berries, it's a real reminder for me. It's an annual event, and it's just a wonderful feeling to be going through this process. But it's the same process for each of the berries that I use for rosips or the round berries. The elder is a slightly different setup in some respects, but it's all patience, isn't it? So we've got to let this drip away for a little while. I might still be persuaded to actually leave the jarring of this until the morning, because it's getting quite late and it's I know how much the work is involved still. Okay, hello again. So this is the liquid that's been strained out of that jelly bag, and I've popped it from this pot, which is going to go back on the cooker, and I have just over a pint of liquid, which is good. And we shall take this pint very carefully as well, because it's precious stuff, and we transfer it into the pot again. You have to measure it because you need to be aware of how much liquid there is, so you can work out how much sugar. So I reckon for every pint of liquid you need about a pound of sugar. So we've got a pint exactly, so that will be, well, half a kilo of sugar. Yeah. So that'll go in the boil, and we'll take the sugar. It's a fresh pack, so it's easy measured. It seems like a lot of sugar, but this is the preserving side of things. I need my wooden spoon. Both the liquid and the sugar are both cold. If the liquid had been much hotter, then I would suggest that you put the sugar in the oven for 10 minutes just to heat up a little so it's not cold sugar onto hot liquid. All these things count for experience, you see. The idea is that this will be thickened up, a bit more sugar. And this is what makes the jelly. I think we'll be just about there, Andy, sugar-wise. So we've turned the heat up here and allow all the sugar to dissolve, making sure the last remnant of the liquid is out, of course. So if you don't measure, then obviously you won't get the sugar measurements to match, and that's what causes it to be runny. We don't want it to be runny. And so we're getting on here. So I've also got the extractor fan off just now, but these glass jars have been in boiling water for several minutes now, so they're sterilised completely, including the lids. People always forget to do the lids, but it's just as important to make sure that the lids are completely free of any bacteria. Make sure that is boiling before we take them out, and then we transfer this liquid once it's ready. So I'll do my business, and what we'll do is we'll show you on the final transfer, at least when we're jarring them up. Okay. I can't think if I've not forgotten anything to tell you. Well, I suppose you could take all the remnants of the berries, which is in the jelly bag, which is, excuse the mess, which is currently in the sink here, and you could put that through with some boiling water again, but it's done its job, and for the amount we've got, it's done. I think I mentioned before, this stuff makes one of the best cleaning agents in the world. So if you want to polish up your floors, take a small amount and keep that aside and stick it in a basin of water. And if you want to do all your chrome taps and sinks and stuff like that, which I will obviously do when I'm tidying up, it gives it a high polish. And likewise, the pots which you use become immensely clean after this. So can you imagine what that does to your insides? It cleans everything out, including your tar from the smoking and any fatty stuff that you've got in your stomach lining because you've been stuffing your face with the wrong things like chips and that all your life. So this is good for you. It really is. So we're slowly bringing this to the boil, and it's a beautiful colour. I'm sure you must agree. So all the sugar's dissolved. We're just waiting. It comes up to well, you start to feel it getting thicker. And as soon as it starts bubbling away, it's time to take it off the heat and let it settle. So there we go, it's just after 10 minutes to 9, and I've completed my task. I've got 3 jars of concentrate. This will turn into a solid liquid by the morning when it cools. It will cool overnight. You're probably thinking to yourself, is it really worth it to go out picking all those berries, all the time you spent, all the preparation and cooking off and the mess and the stirring and the sugar and the whole shebang? Well, I can assure you it's worth every moment. there's a little residue which I've diluted. It's absolutely, oh, it's out of this world. I just diluted it with some, you know, what was left in the plastic jug and then the remnants of the pot. I've just put some boiling water and stirred it up and put it into my cup. And everything's washed and cleaned away. And that's there to drip dry the jelly bag. But that is absolutely wonderful. And of course it's very good for your brain, this stuff, and very good for your heart. So hawthorns are top of the list every year for me. I'll probably do another couple of batches of this at some point in October. Once open, it's got a couple of weeks shelf life and kept in the fridge. But don't take it every day if you can help it, because it's, you know, it's meant to be a treat for the body, not something the body, you know, starts to rely on. It's a boost. It's like those nettle seeds, they're a boost. They're not something you take every day. But this stuff here, just to recap, you can put it on porridge, or you can use it cold on sweets, or you can put it with patty or cheese or anything you want. And when you get a very cold day in January, it's very raw and damp and cold, there's nothing better than unscrewing the top of the hawthorn jar and just putting it in you know, well, you put it in porridge, but just put it in a cup like this with a little bit of boiling water and sit back and feel the warmth and goodness go right through you. So that's that job done. I've got the elderberry, I've got the round to do, and I've got the rosehip to do. The rosehip's not so important, so I've still got some bottles left from last year. That's the rosehip from last year. It's pretty good in colour still as well. I managed to do a little last year, despite everything that's going on. And what was the other thing I need? You will notice that I keep a lot of things in my house. I don't throw anything away. A simple can like that. Well, if we get a power cut in the winter, I can put anything in here and just sit upon the fire, let it cook away. Even some chopped up potatoes put in there with some boiling water, and just sat amongst the embers and let it simmer away for 20 minutes. That will be my potatoes cooked. So that's why I keep everything I can. Not to hoard everything, but just to keep things. I better not make this video too long. The other thing I was going to say is, I mean, I used to do this on an industrial scale. I used to keep, you know, 2 or 3 boxes of this stuff for 2 years and 3 years and stuff like that. But it was, well, it just became to the point where there was so many different stuff that I had, I couldn't use it all. I was giving some away, and which was all right. But what I meant was I don't have the storage space for everything like that. I still got some small berries from 2 years ago and some rowan. So these are the, I'll shake up. That's the mixture from the slow berries. Very good for you, very viscous in there. And that's the rowan jelly. You can see how thick that is. See how thick that is in there? Hopefully you can see how thick it is. It's not as thick as me sometimes. But so there we go, that's the job done. And I don't need to label things, not really, because I've got good memory for these matters. And so I know exactly what's what. And I know that's the hawthorn, you see. And I know the jars that are made, but I'll pencil something down in a little diary just to say that it was on the last day of September I got that done. And then, So thanks very much for watching this video. I didn't take you through the final process of pouring it into the jars. It's not easy doing that with a camera in your hand. But simply you let the liquid get to boiling point and you just stir away. It'll gurgle and burble away, and at that point you need to take it off the heat. And the idea is to try and get it into the jars as soon as. So these are going to be hot. The hotter the better, you see. And get them in. And it stops any cracking of the glass. If it's cold, hot to cold, it will crack the glass. Although these are pretty good. The manufacturers of these glass items with the jams and stuff that they need to be getting hot. What else can I say? Any mumbling on here? Yeah, so basically it's just a case of getting the hot liquid in, and then it'll solidify in its own time once it cools down. Well, good morning. It's a White Rabbit day. It's the 1st of October 23. White rabbit, white rabbit, white rabbit. And just finally I wanted to say that these have been left overnight to cool, and you can see that they've turned into a thick jelly-like substance, and that's what we want. And these will be used over the coming months at my leisure. So that's the first batch this season of my hawthorn. And the weather's a bit inclement today, not forecast that. It's maybe wall-to-wall sunshine according to the forecast I saw a couple of days ago. They're absolutely hopeless, they really are. They can't get anything right, that lot, that Met Office crew. But at least we've got this done. I'll give a chance to get on with some internal chores this morning. The weather clears, we might get out and gather some elderberry. I've got my usual spots where I'll go for that, but it'll be pretty wet underfoot, so I'll need to be having the correct gear on. But we'll deal with that when it comes, Andy. Yeah, we're into October already, eh?